So we've got a question from Rahul here. Interesting question. Is automation and the buzz for tools lowering the focus from critical thinking? How to use tools judiciously to promote critical thinking? Nice question.
It's an excellent question. I'm not sure I can answer it because I don't know. My personal feeling is that our business, our craft, the whole industry in software development is subject to religious crazes. Mm-hmm. And you know, going back decades, suddenly everybody had to do object-oriented whatever. Right. And anything that wasn't object-oriented wasn't any good. And same thing with Agile. And actually I still, and it's really funny because Agile's been around 20 years now, and yet I can, because of the kinds of projects that I have worked on, some of which are very large, some of which are government projects where Agile just isn't allowed, but many of which are about buying software that's already been developed and then having to deal with it. Agile just doesn't fit. How can you do that when you're not actually developing the software? And yet those who are on the Agile religious train can't see that, can't think beyond the contexts in which it would work. So there is an analogy here with automation and the buzz for tools. I think at the moment, I think there is a big buzz for tools, a big buzz for automation. And a lot of that comes from management pressure, saying what you're doing, if you're not doing tool-based testing, is too slow, too expensive, too blah, blah. At the same time, and therefore, you may not always be thinking as well as you ought to, as well as would be appropriate for doing the kind of testing you need to be doing. Because picking up a tool becomes the answer. What was the question? It's the answer is this tool. But I think it's dangerous to make those kinds of generalizations too. Because it's only lowering the focus from critical thinking if we don't think about not only how to use a tool, but also whether to use a tool or which tool in a given situation. Just as we should be thinking not only about how to build something, how to build it correctly. Sometimes we should be thinking about whether we should be building it at all. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, if we get too heavily into any buzz, then it obscures our ability to think critically. I don't know how I can answer the second part of that question, which is how to use tools judiciously, other than using tools judiciously, actually to think about how we use them, whether we should use them, what we should use at any given time.
I'm glad you said that, because I actually thought using the tools judiciously is itself actually thinking critically about the use of the tools.
I think so.
Yeah, I thought that's kind of a pretty cool way to put it.
So long as it includes the question of what happens if I don't use this tool.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Might be better. And that's another question to add to the list, which is not simply asking what would happen if I did this thing, but asking what would happen if I didn't. Always turning a question around. Reversing on it.
Almost seems like a playful exercise in some ways.
Well, thinking about thinking is fun.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.